All right, guys. Like, how exciting to actually be here, sitting across the table from you guys, like almost as equals, right?
No, what do you mean almost
we
as
are
equals? We're
equals. What are
totally
you talking
equals.
about?
That's crazy. We are now.
I'm just saying because it's been such a journey.
How many years?
Gosh,
What year was it? Was it 2009 or 2008? I think it was the beginning of 2009, right?
Yeah, I think it was like right around
When we met.
2009. Yeah,
Okay.
right around there. That's when we started working at
It was
Mark
right after
One.
the crash, yeah.
I remember exactly the day when you guys came in because, I had been working with Leonard, a mess going, rest in peace, Leonard.
Yes.
And he had told me he had been my mentor. And he's like, you know what? You're hitting a certain level where I know that as your coach and, mentor, I could only get you so far. Like, you need a female influence in business because, things were changing. And I guess the questions I was asking or the help I was requesting. And within the week, you and JR come in, and I just remember because it was like a high school movie to me almost. You guys are walking in slow motion, with
My hair
The jock quarterback came in, is that what you said?
Yes. And I see Kim with her hair in the air, and all of a sudden, a glow of lights behind you guys, right? I was like, oh man, I want to meet her, right? I want to meet this team. And that's just kind of where it got started. And I was super lucky you guys were willing to take me under your wing because my life did a 360 at that moment.
It's so funny because I remember that day, and I remember our experience was different because we walked in the office, after Mark had requested that we be partners, and we're like, yeah, this is something that we see a viable future here with this company. And it was interesting because we never worked or known him, and we'd all been in the business forever. And we walk in and we're like, dude, these people are scared out of their ass. They are freaking scared, retreated in the corner. Nobody wanted to talk.
We were all solo artists.
Yeah, everybody was
all your doors were
shell-shocked.
shut. Everybody's door was shut. I remember there was a main pit because there was construction going on.
Yes, I remember
Mark had
specifically.
just sold the building, and there was a pit, and we were thrown in the pit. We were first two desks. Everybody was already set up on with their desks, but with their offices, and everybody's door was completely shut. Everybody
scared,
came in, hello,
scared.
and went in there and retreated.
Yeah, and we were after that, at the end of that day, we were like, oh shit,
what did we sign up for? But you guys got to remember, this was what 08, 09.
Yeah, and everybody was scared.
They were scared. I had experience seeing people's cars getting towed out of the parking lot.
Yes, exactly.
People collections companies calling work, be like, tell them I'm not here.
Yeah.
So it was scary times, and I think you guys were that breath of fresh air. And you guys actually came in with structure and a game plan and a formats.
Well, it's funny you say that because we were originating then as well, right? So not only as partners in the company, managing partners, but we also came in as originators. And we're like, okay, let's also get an idea of what's here, what's available with this company. So I remember asking, where's the lender matrix? You guys have a list of lenders that everyone works with?
Matrix. I haven't seen that movie.
What was funny is that nobody had a list.
We had no idea.
There was not one set list.
No.
Right.
But then you came up with a list of 5 banks that you had. It was handwritten. Matt came up with 3. Leonard showed me a list. So everybody had their own little cheat sheet.
Yeah.
And that was the lender matrix. Everybody had their own little lender matrix. All basically had a phone number and the bank you were approved with and the name of the AE. That was as much structure that was happening right there.
Yeah, there was none. There was none. I remember the first sales meeting. I do remember the first sales meeting, and I remember us talking about the importance of working with realtors. And, after the market crash, everybody had such an impact. One day you had 20 transactions, next day you had 0, right? Mm-hmm. And for realtors, who need financing for their clients, they were freaking out. So I remember the stress, everybody's stress level at that time. Well, when we go to Mark One, nobody wants to work with realtors. And I'm like, you guys are going to starve to death. And this is literally 14 years ago where I was like, that's not an option. And I remember for 2 years, you were the only one who listened. You were literally everybody no, I'm going consumer direct, or I want to, and I was just like, all that's great. Yeah. And realtors are our partners. Well, and so you were the only one willing to go out in the field.
Because at that point, ignorance is bliss. Exactly. I had nowhere to go but up. Because, fast forward a little bit. I remember sitting outside once, we changed offices with JR. I was cold calling, doing my due diligence and what I had to do to, hustling, trying to get business. And I was new in the business, so I didn't know what was really going on. And earlier that day, I had broken my piggy bank to be able to put gas into the car to get to work and be there. And I had no, no deals or anything, but I knew I got to be there and keep working. And then my charger breaks. I was livid. I was just overwhelmed. I was like, I'm done. I should just go get that job. Everybody's been telling me about, why am I so adamant about making this work? And I remember going outside and I was just there was a bench outside the office and I just sat out there and I just, had a complete breakdown.
Yeah.
Right. And then JR comes in and he sits next to me and he's telling me, which didn't make sense at the time, and I was so upset when you told me this. I remember.
You were triggered, huh?
Yes, very much. With every breakdown comes a breakthrough. And I'm like, are you kidding me right now? Like, this is what you're coming with?
Timing is everything, right?
I remember that.
Yeah, I remember that day. I remember. Well, you were new at originating. You had been an assistant rep for Leonard for quite a bit, right? And stepped into originating. And I remember that day you were broke down. You were contemplating really leaving the industry. I think you had already been presented an opportunity to go work for like $13 an hour back then, right?
Yeah.
Which was
got to make the car payment.
Got to make a car payment. And weren't you late, like 2 or 3 car payments?
Yes, and I at that point had turned in my apartment and moved back home.
Okay.
Which, I was lucky enough to have my supporting, loving family.
You've gone as far bottom as bottom could go, right?
Yeah.
And then the charger.
That was my rock bottom.
Yeah, the charger breaks.
Well, the charger breaking was like
that was the
salt in the wound, the open wound, right?
Like, okay, like this is a sign. I'm done. Let's just, give it up. I remember that.
And so you had the second interview or an interview or what? I don't know what it was. Something like that.
Yeah, I was
right?
ready to start. Like, I could take the job if I wanted to, but I was still contemplating it because I had dedicated so much. I'd been in the, business and I'd been assisted and I loved it. I loved the business. I love speaking with clients and problem solving and, finding the programs and being that solution for them. So I really contemplated, but, you got to pay bills.
Mm-hmm. And I just remember that she was in breakdown, tears and tears.
Yeah.
And, but I remember, our commitment to you, and we made it. And I can see, I know it was a tough time. It was like this was about 2010 now, right? Right around there. And we were all in survival mode. But you can also see the writing on the wall. I go, you go take this job at $13 an hour. You can kiss this career here goodbye. You're going to be working for somebody probably the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. And that could be far from the truth because, you can always come back, right?
Yeah.
But in our stand, I remember telling you, you're not going to take that job. There's no way you're going to take that job.
Well, you gave her a charger.
Well, this is the next day.
The next day.
Uh-huh.
Next day, I
Spoiler alert.
Right?
I thought it was the same day. I was
No.
No, so he tells me, you know what? You give me its pep talk and
Sleep on it.
come back tomorrow.
Come back tomorrow.
I'm like, all right,
So
I'll
she's
think
like,
about
okay,
it.
whatever.
But I
Tony
came back
Robbins
the next day.
giving a philosophical advice. But what happened
But
is
I
that the
showed
next
up.
day, she was there, and I brought her a phone charger. And that evening I had gone out to, I think it was Target.
Yes.
And I bought her a book, the pen, and I said,
A notebook.
and I said, this is the beginning.
And I
Take
still
Nicky
have
notes,
it.
Organize yourself.
Aww.
I go, you're not leaving. You're not leaving. I go, you're gonna stay here, and you're gonna make something of yourself here.
Yeah. And that was, for me, as simple as those words might seem, no one had ever told me that. So for you guys to be pulling for me made me want to pull for me even more. Like, okay, I got this and you guys are going to guide me. So that gave me that confidence, that edge that I needed to keep moving forward. Like, okay, I'm not alone in this. And that made the difference.
Well, that's what commitment looks like. Like, that's what commitment looks like. And, as a manager, as an owner, as a team leader, it's challenging because you want to believe in everybody. And we do. We start ground zero and 100% believe that your commitment is at the level that you say it is. And, maybe 60% of the time it actually shows up that way, right? Because it's super easy to say, I want a magnificent life, or I want all of this. Like, most people want it, but it's not in the wanting. Like, it's not in the wanting that it shows up in your life. And with you, your tenacity, like, you're so tenacious. And that spoke, like, it screamed your commitment. And so, you know, even though I wasn't there, what I hear inside of JR's response is that he saw your commit, like he was as committed as you were. And inside of that, we were not stepping away, because this is that industry that takes like shit does go crazy sometimes all at once. You know, this is what we signed up for. And the rewards that we enjoy show up inside of our commitment to our clients and our commitment to our career, right? And so you had that, and you never, whatever I asked of you, you did it.
Well,
you know, like 100%, not even grudgingly. Like, you're like, okay, let's go do this. And I remember us saying, I was like, dude, with that, we can do anything. Like, we can create anything with her.
Well, she was a rascal. You know, and you know that word, right? It means that you were that rascal. You were younger. You were a handful. I'll tell you that much.
I'm used to little firecracker.
That's what I mean.
Rascal.
A rascal is a firecracker, right? And so, you know, we saw that. We
Yeah.
saw that you were capable of just taking so much instruction from and executing it. And God, boy, I go, the things that you would do. You would tell her, just walk into that office, go tap 3 realtors on the shoulder before you get kicked out of that closed office, and go and drop your business card off. She'd come back.
Yeah.
I did it, and I got kicked out. I was able to reach 4 realtors.
I've been kicked out of better. No worries.
You know, but she would do it. And so, you know, like Kim said, you're stand for somebody at the beginning, but they have to actually execute and put the work in. The kudos to you for putting in all that work, because we were just the instruction.
And I think that was something that was noticed, because being new and, you know, getting that momentum and velocity going, I remember a couple, you know, loan officers pulled me aside and they're like, you know what, you're doing great, but I think this is more that you might be able to manage. So let's team up and I can help you, and let's do that. And I contemplated, like, wow, you don't think I can do it? Like, I need help. So of course, being newer and your confidence is growing when someone tells you like that, you know, it's a little questionable. So I remember sharing that with Kim. And Kim's like, no, there's no way, you're not doing it. I'm going to support you. You got this. You can do this alone.
Yeah, I
and
remember
again,
that.
nobody's ever said that to me. So it just kind of built me up more and more, where I could do it. And I believed I can do it because you guys believed I can do it.
And you have done it.
Yeah.
And tenfold. And I think that's what I love the most about our story. You know, like, we're 10 plus years in our friendship and our working relationship. And inside of that, we've all enjoyed great success, right? It's sharing a level of commitment and integrity. But where our story shines so much through to me is, like, in the journey, there's just so much trust and faith.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, working with people that you know you can trust, that have your back, that you have their back, a real partnership. Like, even inside of all of the training and mentoring, it's always been a partnership. It is. And it's sad that it is rare, because that's how great things are created. People ask me all the time, why did you partner with JR? And I know why the question is. The question comes from, why would you split your income? Like, literally, it's generated from just, in my opinion, a greed conversation. And my answer is, like, because I want an amazing life, and I don't see it as giving half up. I see it as getting 100% back. I get to have the life I have. I have an amazing partner. I share and we grow together. Why would I struggle along by myself so that I could keep it all? You know, so partnerships don't show up the same way, but I think having the attitude about a partnership is what's important. Like, you don't need to be 50-50 with somebody to be a partner with them. And I consider us partners, you know, and everybody on our team is a partner, junior or senior, inside of their experience. Because it is collaborative. Like, we all bring something to the table. And in all of your rascalness, I remember, so they're like, how can she, like, she's making me crazy. And I was like, that's how committed she is. I'm like, because all I hear is commitment. All I hear is, I won't take no for an answer. And your life looks like it does today because you didn't take no for an answer. You know, so I invite every people listening, you know, like, if you're not satisfied in your life, consider that you took no for an answer, maybe a little.
And I remember why I didn't take no for an answer, because you had told me, unless you get 3 no's, you keep moving forward. So I was always in the inquiry. And to this day, you know, still growing, still in the inquiry. And thanks, you know, to your mentorship and taking me under your wing and guiding me at the beginning of my career, I've been able to build on that and went from breaking my piggy bank to receiving a charger and a notepad to keep moving forward to building I consider, my small empire of, a great net worth, a great life for myself, my family, and residual income. And of course, generational growth. Like that's
Wealth.
wealth.
Yeah.
Investing in real estate has been tremendous for me. And I remember the first property I was going to buy. It's like, should I buy it, guys? Should I do it? Can I do it? Can I make the payment? Like, how's this going to work? And like, you can do it. We're going to help do the, work on the loan with you, and you're going to learn from it because it was a 203K.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was like, what the heck is a 203K? Like, how do I do that? So,
First of many.
yes. And it was just a tremendous opportunity to have met you guys and be a part of your life. And now, again, part of your team working together. And like I said, we're sitting at the same table now,
Likewise.
and I could never imagine that.
And we're back full circle together
then.
here, right?
And I love it.
And, Kim mentioned like you being the rascal and driving me up the wall many, many times. And you,
I think
and
I
didn't make
still
that, and you knew that because I was not quiet about it.
Yes.
But
It
it was
was love.
but it was coming from a love, but it was also
Yes.
coming from a learning, from a teaching standpoint, right? Because I'm like, you have to own this. Because we were here, you're like, oh, they're always here. They're always going to be there. They're always going to be there. And I'm like, no, you have to own this.
And that's
we wanted you to learn and own it.
But you know what? And that drove me crazy until maybe 2 years ago. When I would ask you like, oh, what's this program? Or I would call you and you're like, I'm always available for you, and da-da-da, right? So I would ask you a question or text you, but it was a repetitive question or something that we've
You had
gone
asked
over,
before,
right?
yeah.
And you're like, why aren't you writing this down? You need to be responsible for it. And I would just get so frustrated.
'Cause
Like,
you would
I've
be like,
already
just give me
given
the
you the
answer.
information,
Right.
right? And that drove me crazy. And I get it now because now other people do it to me. Like, we'll provide them like, okay, let's meet at 4:00. Here's the address. We'll meet and we're going to meet again next week. Oh, what was the address? I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, you guys aren't responsible. Like, look at your messages, do the work,
Well, a lot
right?
of it-
So I totally get the lesson that was being implemented. So thank you.
You're welcome. A lot
But
of
yes,
it
it drove
was
me
not
crazy.
to keep put the golden handcuffs on you. It was for
Right.
you
It's
to
not
not
being
need us
afraid.
anymore.
Exactly.
And not because we didn't want to be here.
But that
for
was
you.
a new concept because everybody wants you to
Need
have
them.
to need
Of
them.
course.
Exactly.
'Cause you can leave
especially
them
in
at
this
any time.
industry. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Don't teach them. Don't teach them too much, or they're going to
Exactly.
go. Don't let them do. And I was like, and that's insanity.
You're
That's
here
absolutely
because we
insanity.
gave
It
you
was-
everything we possibly
Well, and on
have,
top
right?
about it, like
And you
what
continue to.
exactly you want to be empowered around your education, and if we can't educate those around us, their value's limited. The growth is limited. So what is the point? Speaking to, I wanted to talk a little bit about your first purchase and your 203K inside of
I cried so much.
willing,
Kim.
but a willingness, like what we say, a willing to want to. You were committed to buying that first property, to being out there on the skinny branches, living on the edge. Like you just start, like your business was just picking up, and boom, you're jumping into a duplex purchase, and then boom, it's a 203K that you've never, like it's layers and layers, and I think that's what I really want people to get from this interview and this podcast is that that's available to everybody. You had faith, you took the risk, you didn't know. And the fact that you were a loan officer, you didn't know how it would go. And 100% commission. Like, you want to talk about really risking. We talk to people about 203Ks, which are amazing loans and still available. And the response is like, that sounds so hard. This sounds so this. And I look at you today creating multiple millions of dollars in real estate wealth. Had you had that attitude of being afraid or not willing to be out there on the skinny branches, dude, you'd still probably working now. What did they raise minimum wage to $15.50 an hour? You know what I mean? Like that's what's available when you have faith and support and you go for it. If you've got to know every single outcome, it's hard to play a big game in life.
Well,
Yes.
It is. It's very hard to play
She
a big
wasn't
game.
in the in order to conversation. You know
Yeah,
what that is,
yeah.
right? In order for me to buy my first property, I have to have so much in the
This
bank or
and
this
this
much
and
net
this and
worth,
this.
right?
Oh, no, I had nothing.
I know. I know what your net worth is. I have a pretty good idea based on, everything we've been through. And nowadays, you're looking at buying another property like it's no skin off your back, right?
Yeah.
But back then, you weren't waiting to be in this position. You're in this position because you didn't wait.
And she's repeatedly put herself in that position. Every time she gets a certain amount of assets, She purchased another property. She could have been comfortable a long time ago. But like the fact that you're never unwilling to challenge yourself speaks to your success. And the thing is that's available to everyone. And I get it takes a huge amount of confidence. But you no more had that confidence when you started, but you had faith, you know, and for people who are struggling in any career, but definitely in our career, if you find yourself stopped, then consider you're not with the right team. Like you're not in the right space, because you want people to be straight with you, hold you accountable, and give you a swift kick in the ass. Like I know what you're capable of, right? So when I don't see the numbers, I'm like, dude, what's up? I don't want to hear the bullshit excuses about like I'm comfortable. Like, are we working or are we not working?
And I appreciate that, because that does speak.
Well, because I know what you expect of yourself, so I'm not going to let you down. I know I have that permission. We know we have that permission to say like, hey, this doesn't work. You know, step it up. And how amazing is that when you actually allow, like we are for each other in our own personal team. We're like, dude, what are we doing this month, right? Like in the seriousness and a commitment. How is this happening? Not, oh my God, rates went up. Oh my God, oh my God, we're like, fuck that. You know, it's like, we move on, we move forward, you know? So.
And just with that
to you.
First, thank you. And with that first purchase, it was the, you know, kick in the butt I needed, or the confidence builder to branch off. And now, like JR said, you know, I'm fortunate enough to own, you know, multiple apartments and properties. So no, I'm not afraid when rates go up. Inflation happens, like great, rates are gonna
been here, done that,
right? And rents will go up.
Exactly.
So the residual income and being able to put myself in that position with my family has been huge. And that opportunity came from being in the inquiry, being in the right environment, being, you know, honestly, just having great coaching and mentorship for me has made a big difference, because it does hold you accountable and it makes a huge difference. So this is why we've come full circle and
you're
are
coachable.
still
And you're coachable.
You're extremely coachable. Go do this. Drop on one foot, you'll jump on one foot.
I'll know why later, though, right?
But we would talk. We would say, when you'd go out, I go, the set of balls that she has on her.
Yeah, seriously.
She didn't care.
Seriously. And that's how life shows up, or an amazing life shows up inside of having that set of balls. Like saying like, you know,
you took a risk.
It's uncomfortable, but like not having money is a hell of a lot more uncomfortable, right? Like just getting really clear where you give your power to.
Well, I wasn't ever embarrassed to go look for work, because my mom always had like a little saying in Spanish, vergüenza es cuando te agarran robando, which means like you should be embarrassed when you're stealing, not when you're hustling, working, trying to provide for your family.
I love that.
First time I've heard that.
That's the first time I've ever heard that too, and that is so true.
So regardless what the task is, do it with pride, do it correctly, and you know, don't focus on the end result. That was a big thing. Just, you know,
be of service.
Be of
service, right? That's a core value of,
and to
of
this
our
day,
team.
Even on the way over here, I had a client call and ask me, you know, for advice, what to do. They want to sell their property, and you know, what would that look like? And so I asked them, if you sell the property, because obviously, you know, we're commission workers.
Right.
But that doesn't mean that that's the advice we want to give our clients. So I asked her, okay, if you sell the property, what are you going to do with the money? She wants to buy a property out of the country for sentimental value. I said, great. So if you're looking to do that, knowing you're going to sell the property, give up residual income, the tax deductions, the appreciation, all of that for an emotional buy. As long as you're okay with that, making that decision. She's like, oh, well, thank you so much. This is why I call you.
Because when you say it that way.
It's like freezing your credit cards up, right? You freeze them in the freezer. If you want to buy that impulse buy that big plasma TV.
Right.
By the time it thaws out, you think about it.
Right.
And maybe you pull the trigger, but at least that was you. You were giving her that sound advice.
And it all comes from the right fundamentals. And again, I'm blessed to have met Leonard, blessed to have been with you guys, part of your team, taking me under your wing. And to this day, I'm still part of the team, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, you know, for us, I would exactly the same. I mean, I know we would come 100% like completely agree, you know, and our commitment to you is has never been, it's been unwavering, right? Even when we weren't on the same team, because, you know, people were super weird about competition at other companies, right? But
Yes.
like, you know, like really afraid of the three of us being together, like the
It is a
power, the
force to be
control, right? It
reckoned
is a
with.
force to be reckoned with, you know, and one that we're very proud of. And even when that time was there, you know, we said, it's not about us, it's about you. We step aside, do what you got to do. Like, our time is coming. Our partnership is always in place, regardless of, you know, what's the name on the sign of the door. And today where we're at, you know, especially in this market and how crazy, you know, depending on when people see this, but right now the market has a lot of volatility. It's friggin' awesome to not be unnerved. You know what I mean? It's amazing to be at a place where like we can still be of service and not be all crazy because we're worried about the sky falling. And
or work out of desperation.
exactly.
That's the worst,
Absolutely.
because I feel when that happens, your clients don't come first anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's easy to make
Yeah.
dumb choices. It is. It's easy to make very dumb choices. And so where we're at right now, you know, like I consider us at the peak. You know what I mean? But we and nowhere near going down. You know, like
it's
riding
just
this
the
wave.
beginning.
Absolutely, like into real leadership and into growth. You know, as we see ourselves expand, it's awesome. And bringing in newer people and younger people into the business. You know what I mean? Because we got to give this somewhere, right? Like I was like, we're looking for the next Cynthia Soto, who's ever looking out there right now.
And well, without the tears beforehand.
No. That's part of it. That's part of it.
But I'll tell you this much: aside from the passive income because of the rental properties, right, that you own, I go. Do you feel that navigating in this changing market is, in other words, you're not stressed out about it simply because you just have the experience, not just experience, but you know, like you have, like you're the experienced one now.
Yeah, and
You see what I'm saying?
you know what? Sometimes it's crazy for me to think about it. Like, I'm the senior loan officer.
You are the senior loan officer.
Because I
now.
remember when I first started, I was the youngest one in the company, and period, I was the youngest one in the company. So now it's like, oh, I'm the senior. Like, oh, there's younger people.
Well, it's nothing to do with age. It's what you
But
know.
the experience is amazing.
Yeah.
Like,
Yes.
I've seen so many properties with, you know, buying investment properties. I've been able to do a flip. And I learned the hard way what a 1031 exchange is, right?
Right.
Capital gains.
Yes.
So a lot of those things I learned the hard way. But I wouldn't change it for the world. I was able to grow with that, purchase more property. And in this market, no, I'm not really concerned. I think this market, just like any other market, brings an opportunity.
It always does.
It's like an unseen opportunity, though, because people are like, oh, well, rates are really high. When I first started doing loans, I think we were like at 5.5, 6.5.
Right.
And that was a great rate.
Nobody was complaining
But
about
we're
it. Yeah.
spoiled because some people have only seen, 2.5, 2, right? But right now, the opportunity is to secure the property, right? That little cliche saying I have, marry the house, state the rate.
Yeah.
But it's true. Now that you qualify, the programs are back, because we saw how quick with COVID programs disappear. Investors get scared, money goes. So when you have the opportunity and it's feasible for you, I think that's the right time, regardless what the market's doing, because rates are going to change. But what's going to happen when, okay, rates drop? Everybody's going to come back into the market. Then you're going to start the bidding war again. So it's just a vicious circle. So I think you get in where you fit in, and then you'd start making the corrections.
Absolutely. At 100%.
As long as you can, affordability. That's the
Absolutely.
question nowadays in this
Absolutely.
market, affordability.
This is a buy and hold market for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and rents, right? Like rents are going up. You know, rents are going up, and borrowers are still dealing with that, and that's not going to change, right? Like we're still very much in an inflation conversation. So,
But the opportunity, like we were talking, Kim, is rents don't make sense. I've looked at so many 4 units, 8 units. Like I'm looking at property all the time, looking for an investment, and it doesn't make sense unless you're playing, like you said, the long-term game where I know I'm not going to make money for 3 years, and I'm banking on the tax deduction, the equity growth, all of the other great things that come with owning property. That market is starting to, skin pretty much be done, right? There's really very small, if any, profit now, but the opportunity is the ADUs.
right.
If you have an apartment, you have a property, create an ADU.
Absolutely.
So a lot of people are like, well, I don't have an extra 100,000, or how much does it
But
take?
your house does.
Exactly.
Exactly.
You're sitting
exactly.
in it. You're
sitting in it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you used your first property, you leveraged it into the next property. You know what I mean? And I was like, and that income, that income was real income for you, you know? So
But
it's like,
it is scary. People think like, okay, I'm going to take everything I have and put it into another property. Because I remember even my mom was like, why are you doing that? You already have a house. You should be, comfortable, or you should be satisfied. I remember
that's the rich
with
dad,
that.
poor dad mentality.
Yes.
Yeah, that's totally the rich dad, poor
Well,
dad
there's
mentality.
an attachment there.
Yeah, why do I have to be satisfied?
No, there is an attachment there because we keep, us and you, we keep promoting about real estate, and it's one of the safest investments of all time, and it's proven itself, right?
Yeah.
I don't have to go into
I'm
that.
living it.
But
Right.
we'll have clients. A client will put it on, 3.5%, come in with like $15,000, $20,000 out of pocket at best. And within like 3 or 4 years, maybe 5 years, they're sitting on $100,000 worth of equity. And the market just proved itself. Right? The real estate just proved itself. Why wouldn't you do it over and over and over again if it proved to you that it's possible, and you know it's possible? It's there, but you get attached to, oh, what if I lose this money? It's always that conversation, what if?
Well, if
That's not
the
playing the
market
big game.
changes, you're going to lose that money anyway.
Well, and I think
So
it's
either
also
you use it or you lose it.
I think it's also speaking to needing a really good counselor, advisor. Like
Correct.
that's what we are, right? So just like you said, what I say, my favorite number with my clients is the numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie. No matter what I say, numbers don't lie. Let's look. Like that's what we do. It costs us nothing to look. Well, maybe it costs us a little bit to look, but it costs nothing to look, right? So don't look at what the numbers have to say. Whether you're renting, we can show you what your cost of renting is. Everybody now knows what their cost of waiting the last 2 years is. If I hear one more time, oh my God, I should have, right? Like if I had a nickel for that, I wouldn't need 20 more loans. You hear that much. But following your advisor, somebody to say, no, this is not we have a client right now that's sitting on, he's sitting on, should I take cash out and build an ADU or should I sell it? He's like, because I have the capital gains exemption. And I'm like, yeah, dude, but you've got another $350,000 that you're going to pay 30% tax on. In what world?
Or you can start making money today.
Yeah, it was like, why would you sell it? I go, take the cash out, build the ADU, and make $2,500 a month. Don't give the IRS $100,000. No. Now, would we love to sell? Sure, we'd love to sell
But
it.
there are a
but
lot
it
of-
doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make financial sense for him to do it. You see what I'm saying? So being willing to walk away from a transaction because it's not the best thing for a client, that's what our commitment is. That's it. It's like, it doesn't have to be right now. We ain't going anywhere.
Yeah, but that's the difference between, I feel, us and different loan officers.
Absolutely.
Like, you're going
Yes.
to, have them think and tell them, okay, what exactly do you guys want to do? What's the outcome that you guys are looking at?
Right.
And make sure that everybody's okay with that. We're not order takers. That's
Exactly.
the difference.
Exactly.
Like, oh, you want to get
Exactly.
okay, great. No, let's talk about that. Is it the best loan for you? Is it the best program for you? Are we doing the right thing with the money? Because our clients, we want them to have generational wealth and continue to grow and put them in a great position. So I love that about our team.
Yeah, and if they're waiting and they shouldn't be, having that conversation too and being straight with them. I just had a conversation with a client last night. I was just like, your gap is $10,000, and that gap is going to cost you about $25,000 when this rate goes up. Like, close the gap and get it done, because you're attached to the wrong thing. You're attached to the price, and right now you should be committed to the rate that you're going to get, because it was a damn good rate, And so, but having them you choose, at the end of the day, you choose, and this is what I would do, and being super confident about it. You can, from experience, be extremely confident about the advice
And
you
I
give.
love being able to speak from a place of experience to them, because they can see the proven results. Like, this is what I did. This is what it takes. You have the opportunity to do it. But like you guys mentioned, we got to be on the skinny branches. You got to be willing to take that risk. But that's what, separates.
Great aloes from mediocre aloes. Like, simply put, that's the difference.
And that's what makes people rich versus wealthy.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
So no, I still
Absolutely.
believe that real estate is the best, most secure, and easiest way to accumulate wealth here. And I did it myself. And I'm super happy to
You're an
have the
example.
lifestyle. Yeah, to have
You're an
that,
example.
to be the example. I
And where
love
do you
it.
see yourself going now? Like, what would you, somebody coming into this business? We have new people on our team.
Honestly,
What
I
would you
think
say?
it's the best time to jump into the business
Why?
because you don't have the bad habits. You don't know. People get spoiled in the business where they don't want to work hard anymore. So when you're new, you're hungry, you're hustling, and that's exactly where we're at. The business has changed where you're kind of you got to do the work.
They're not falling from the tree.
They're not
We
falling-
Are
yeah.
seeing that right now, especially.
And people don't wanna
we
do the
know
work.
Individuals personally, we see them on social media. We're around them, and they came into the business when business was just falling from the sky. I got it. The rates were 2.5.
Like no offense to those people,
No
but
offense.
it didn't take anything
But
to
that's
put a
your only
loan
experience
together.
of coming into this market.
It was like for me, I felt like it was just a little taste of '08 in a sense.
Yeah.
Right? Because everybody, right before '08, I mean, because everybody's, booming and doing
Yes.
great.
Yes.
Well, now that we actually have to do the work, where'd they go?
This
Yeah.
is a normal. This is a normal
Absolutely.
market.
Yes.
It
This
is.
has been a normal market. Oh, you're right. 2020, 2021 was the 05 through 07,
Yes.
right? And those were just markets that were just
Of course you killed
unreal.
it. The rates
They were great. I
sold
mean, I enjoyed them.
themselves.
Yeah.
But this is the normal market. Yeah.
Until some product comes out that shifts it. Like if FHA drops the MIP premium, we're going to be flooded with streamlines. You know what I mean? If Fannie Mae changes their credit score, you're going to be flooded. Like the market brings product to you. The market actually knows what it needs. You can see it because new product is coming out now. So you're so right. Like getting in this right now is a great time because one, you're learning how to qualify a loan like traditionally. And then you have product that's non-traditional. It's the best of both worlds and you can't be afraid of any of it.
No, and you can see who's been around. You
Yeah.
can see the experience, what companies are still flourishing, who's growing, who's downsizing. Like it speaks to you.
Absolutely, absolutely. And
So I think we're in the best position. We are a proven team and there's nothing but growth for us, I feel like.
absolutely.
13
Somebody
years
getting-
strong.
yeah.
13 years strong.
So somebody getting into the business, they're in the perfect position, but they need to be mindful of where they're putting their license, who they're surrounding themselves with as far as knowledge.
Absolutely.
You need structure, knowledge, system,
Accountability.
and experience. More than anything, like we've seen this market once or twice already. You already know
Absolutely.
how to navigate through it.
Absolutely.
So that's a big thing. Maybe somebody that's been in the business maybe at least 10 years. But that's just my personal spin on it, I guess.
Well, I'm excited for what we've created here. I'm super excited for what's to come. I'm super excited to know what next property you're buying and where I'm going to push you to.
Well, keep tuned on my Mortgage Gal segment there. We'll start talking a little bit about more landlord rights, information for landlords, how I actually was able to get my first property, get the second property. So I'm going to be sharing all of those secrets, all of those, tricks of the
So
trade
I challenge
there.
you to share the 203K, like just like you did it. Like people need to know more about that loan. Show your story.
Your story, your
Show
experience.
your story. Find the property. This is what it cost. This is how it happened. This is the
You
experience.
guys want to hear the story?
Because if you hadn't done that first deal, I'm super clear you would have created. But that deal was so important for multiple reasons. But because you were willing to take a product that you knew nothing about that was available to you, and that's a lot. That says something.
So we took $15,000 and created 3.3 million net worth with that.
Wow.
That's the story.
That's it
that's
right there.
that's it. Like that's
So
it.
your out of pocket was $15,000 to close
Yes.
and created 3 point.
And that was every dime I had.
Yep, I remember.
Like,
out
we're not
there on the
eating
skinny
out.
branches. Exactly. It's like nobody's going anywhere.
And how long has it been?
Gosh, over 12 years?
12 years. So
But
I
think about
remember that,
What is
but-
it? What is the
12
average of
years.
that?
But
I'm
you know
gonna
what? The
see if we can do math.
203K is a great product. And it takes sacrifice. It takes something to be in that product. Because
Yeah.
I remember the sweat, the tears, living through the construction. I've learned so much. Did you know that when you lay tile, you need to have a wonder board? You know what happens when the contractor forgets to put a wonder board under the
moisture,
tile?
For the moisture, yes.
The tiles break when you walk on them.
Also cushions, but also for moisture purposes.
And
too.
because I didn't know any of that, there was no way for me to catch. Like, I learned, like I said, the experience of building the 203K was great.
Probably wasn't worth a $3.3 million.
Oh yeah, totally worth it.
Okay.
Because now from that
Playing devil's advocate.
experience, that property, I was able to take a little bit of money, and the tenant in the front is paying most of the mortgage. The tenant in the front paid most of the mortgage, allowed me to continue saving, grew the equity in there, was able to cash out, and I did my first flip with that. The first flip was what actually helped me get into the 4-unit apartment building. But it was because I wasn't afraid of the rates. I wasn't afraid of the opportunity, knowing that that money is going to grow, pay for itself, and give me some more.
Absolutely.
Well,
So-
the proof is in the pudding, because an FHA 203K will always have a higher rate than a regular FHA in whatever market. Relevant, right?
Correct.
3/4 to 1% higher,
But
minimum.
after you do the work, your equity's a little bit higher. If the market allows it, you're able to bring that rate back down.
Exactly.
right?
Right?
Exactly.
The details are in the pudding,
I
right?
love what you said. Marry the house, date the
Yeah.
rate. I love that.
I
I,
would-
love that. That's such a great saying.
Because
Like,
you're
it's
not fixated on the interest rate, but you're looking at the actual numbers. You're looking for the actual opportunity of it. That's what I think this market is bringing. Those opportunities are there. But people are fixated on the rate. And I get that.
So I did the math. If I did it right, it was about 1,800% appreciation on your original investment. And so that $15,000 investment translates to $275,000 a year in income.
You know what that is, right?
Right? Like that's
Leverage
Like
to the
it's
max.
right? Like using other people's money, using the bank's money
Yep.
to create wealth.
No,
And-
that's going into partnership with the
Yeah.
bank. Like going to partnership. Hey, let's buy a property together. The difference is that the
yeah,
bank
you put
is
up
fronting the money.
95% of it, I'll put up 5%.
Right.
Right? Like that's
Exactly.
and they're like, okay. Right? And then
And the
now-
biggest thing was what? Make sure you take care of your credit.
absolutely
having-
pay your taxes, take care of your
Care
credit.
of your credit. And that
Absolutely.
opens the opportunity. So having good credit is a big key, I feel, to
Absolutely.
securing financing.
100%.
Credit is more important than cash.
Percent.
Agreed.
Yes, because with great credit, you don't need cash. You can find
Exactly.
cash with great credit. You're absolutely right.
So
I always
let's
say use
talk
the
a
bank's
little
money.
bit about good debt versus bad debt, because people think debt is debt.
Right.
And there's such a difference. Like, we're using the leverage, we're
Yeah.
using the bank's money.
Right.
So good debt is something that you do leverage, and it's going to give you more money. Good debt is something that is an investment that will give you residual income, pay for itself, and some, hopefully. So good debt would be mortgages, right? Things
Yes,
of that extent.
absolutely.
Bad debt, well,
credit cards.
Cars,
For
credit cards.
Credit cards is number
the
one thing.
fanciness, right?
I would
The
say
material items that are not necessary.
well, yes, assets that devaluate, right? Like if you
like a $10,000 watch, maybe.
Yes, exactly. And if you're not able to write that asset off, if you're not incorporated and you can't take the benefit and the deduction of it, then yes, that's throwing money away. If you're paying credit cards, we just refinanced a very great client out of a lot of credit card debt, super attached to their low interest rate. And I was like, but you see rates going up right now. So your credit cards are 21, 22%. That may not be anything if you've got one
That's
credit
bad
card.
debt, ma'am.
Yeah, but if you have a $3,000 credit card, okay, but if you've got 35, 40,000, you're not writing it off. Get a HELOC, get a second. Okay, you
Right.
want your great, get some sort of benefit from the debt. But if it's just debt and you can't get
Well-
a tax deduction,
That's bad
And
debt.
nobody said you
Yeah.
can't have the watch. But if you're paycheck to paycheck and you
Or the
finance
purse,
it
right?
and leverage that, right? You basically finance that and get into debt. That's bad debt.
well,
Yes.
Robert, buy the laundromat. Let the laundromat make the money. Let the
Make the-
profit from the
yeah.
laundromat buy the watch.
the watch.
That's rich dad, poor dad. You know what I mean? You don't
And that's
just sit on it.
exactly what I did.
Absolutely.
As you guys know, you guys have been telling me for how many years to get a new car?
Yes,
How many
forever.
years?
Forever.
We kept pushing you to get a new
Yes,
car. Yes.
yes.
I was
It
like,
was
no,
time.
But I didn't want it. I wanted to be in a position where my tenants paid for the car for me. And I didn't really need a fancy car at that point in my life. Now that I have my, my girls, I want the, the secure car, the air
Right.
conditioner. I want them to have
You
the
were cool
comforts.
flying out the window, but they can't fly out the window.
Exactly, right?
Right.
And I was able to create that. Create where the tenants now pay for my car.
Absolutely.
They pay for our comforts.
Absolutely. We hated looking at your car, but I'm so glad you were okay with it.
And when we started having
I
that
still have that
conversation
car,
with
Kim.
you,
Shallow.
and be all honesty, when we started having the conversation, it was time. You were ready. The investments were paying for it.
And I was so excited to call you guys, like, all right, guys, I finally did it. I took the leap. I got a, 2022 car. JR is like, okay, great. So you're going to have it in, 2048 now?
Through 2048.
I'm like, yeah, you're probably right.
No, but also it's like you're being conservative and not.
And that's
being more
part of it,
committed
I
to your
feel, though.
future. You're extremely committed to your future, to your financial future, importantly, right?
Yes.
And so instead of being committed to it, you were willing to wait, and brilliantly so, because you have had the benefit of creating the wealth and having the wealth pay for the asset that you have. You know what I mean?
And I think that's something right now that is big. Everybody just wants
Flash.
not even flash. They want,
Instant gratification, is that
there
what
you
you're
go,
saying?
instant gratification. Thank you, JR. They weren't coming out.
I was giving you an opportunity.
Right, thank you,
I
thank
felt
you.
it right
Sounds
there.
like.
I'm like, charades over here. Yeah, instant gratification. Nobody wants to do the work, wait, which is, again, we're back to the basics in the market. So it all ties together.
And I
And
think
having a game plan to create.
Yes.
Right.
Well, and that's true too. What we all share, we share a lot of things, but we do share is we share the same work ethic. Like we work, we are workers. This industry no longer, it did 2 years ago. For 2 years, you could ride a wave and not do a lot and make a fairly
And
decent
I was lucky
living.
enough to be pregnant those 2 years.
But now, now, like you said, it's very normal, and a strong work ethic and a commitment. There's no clock, there's no punch in, there's no punch out. Your clients need you, you're there, you're available, your team steps in for you when you can't be, you have structure in place. That's how we always operate. That's how we operate now. It's how we'll continue to operate. But the fact that we all have that same vibe is why we work so well, because people who don't want to work, for our particular brand, doesn't work. Like, you got to want to hustle. And there's a lot out there. There's a lot out there available.
When you put in the work, we get excited.
Yes.
It
makes us
we
more. We're
invest
like,
in you.
what are we
more.
doing? Yeah.
We spend, we invest more time. And when you make a commitment to us, we make a commitment to you.
Yeah. So
sure.
that's why we're out there,
you did.
looking for the product, cutting it down, harassing
And I
you guys,
love to
group
be
meeting
the
you.
team with always having the upcoming product. We're always in the inquiry. We're always
First on the
edge.
street.
First,
Yes.
yeah, we're always
First
the
on the
first to
street.
announce the product, and I love that
Because we're
That
not
speaks
afraid.
to our knowledge.
We're not afraid. It takes something to bring a new product to the market. You're the guinea pig.
Yeah.
You hope it's going to go exactly how the bank said, but
Right.
you don't know.
How many
But-
times does that happen?
But when you know how to read a guideline,
Yes.
interpret,
It makes
or
the
guidelines, I
difference.
should say,
Yes.
interpret them,
Yes. Have
dissect 'em,
relationships with
and
banks.
sell it,
Yes.
and have conversations. Then you don't go blindly. You have to have some faith that this investor is going to
Yes.
fulfill on their promise, but you have enough to really have an appreciation and say, okay, I'm gonna take a risk on this product.
And that's what we do. We do the work. Like, we pick up the phone. The SBA loans that we're doing now, that was JR doing some matrix hunting, me picking up the phone and calling, creating a phenomenal relationship with an amazing lender, and not being afraid and being like, okay, last time we did one was 20 years ago. Let's see how this is going to go. But had the conversation with the rep and was super clear. This guy knows what's up. Like, he's my guy. He's the one, right? Let's go for it. And made a lot of people happy in moving forward with that. So I love that. And remember what I always tell you, I was like, we do everything. Because if there's a product out there that somebody has,
We're gonna
find it. Now, if we can't do it, there are some that are proprietary and we can't do them. It won't have been for lack of trying, but we are not just letting a client walk out the door. Not before we don't make sure that we've beaten every door down to see if we have the product that they need for them. That's the difference. I remember interviewing a loan officer, and he's like, oh God, no, I don't, if they're not A borrowers, I just don't want to And I was like, how
You're
nice for
gonna starve
you.
to death,
I was
right?
like, yeah. And then, but more importantly, what I heard was how selfish of you, because you're actually experienced, and there's so many underserved
Yeah.
borrowers that your experience can make a difference from you. But you want life to look easy, so how many people will you not help?
Yeah.
That's
And
a
that-
luxury I don't want. I'm more interested
No,
in
you're
how
right.
many people we can help.
And we're thinking long term because I have a question for you, actually, Cynthia.
Sure.
Because I know our answer. Now, you're talking about the little rascal that grew up right here 12 years later, right? 13 years later. Now, have you experienced generational clients yet? Based
Yes.
on your demographic, your age?
What are you talking about? No.
Generational where you did a
No,
maybe
no,
you
I
did,
get
you did
it.
a loan for the
I'm saying I'm
parents,
too
and now
young
the,
for
now
that.
the children
Too young
are
for
in the
that.
market, right?
No, and you know what? It's amazing when you do get to help their children grow and build their growth and their wealth.
Yes.
It's just that trust level, taking care of the client, and always being of service. So yes, I've got to experience that,
You're already in the generational client conversation.
and I love it. 'Cause
Yeah, it
with
is.
social
Great.
media, with everything out there, there's not a lack of options. So for your client to have trust in you, knowing that you're going to guide them for the right product and give them the right service and treatment and put them on the right track, that's gold.
It is. It is. To have
That's
somebody
the
trust
job.
in you that way, absolutely. That is the job. Like, that's the win, in my opinion. That's the real big win. When you can be inside of a career and clients come back to you
make a
repeatedly.
difference for
they
someone.
refer you repeatedly. You've helped everybody. You see the wealth you helped them create. That is, like, that's the golden ticket right
Especially
there
when they
inside
refer
of
you
what we
to
do.
children. That is,
Yeah. We're
that's-
down
that's-
to
that's great.
parents, children, and grandchildren now.
Yeah,
as
we've
one,
done
with one
grandparents,
family.
I guess
Grandparents, parents,
and children.
now the kids. Yeah, and that was like, and yes, we have been around that long. Very proudly, we have been around that
Yes.
long. But you're now in that transitioning into that phase too, and you know, it's a real sense of pride to have a team that lets like we're not. When I say we're not going anywhere, nobody else is looking for another career here. It doesn't matter what the market does. We're originators 7 days a week. 24/7, 365 days. This is what we
Every
do.
market brings an opportunity, and there's still needs.
Absolutely.
You know, people are getting divorced. People want to move up in their lives. People want
pass
to
away.
downsize.
Yep.
Correct. So
Absolutely.
always
There's always a need, and our job is to be there when they need us, right? Like, be ready.
Well, thank you guys so much for sitting down with me and reliving all of those great moments on how we met and got started.
I'm really excited for our
And
future.
I can't wait to see what we create next. So stay tuned, guys.
Exactly.
Another
Stay
10
tuned.
years.
And thank
Stay
you.
tuned. Follow the
Thank you,
mortgage
Cynthia.
gal and everything that she's up to. KJ, the mortgage team, is always here available, and we're just really happy to share this time with you today.
We're gonna plug in. We're gonna a cafecito moment with
Okay.
the mortgage gal is coming. So
Great.
stay tuned,
Stay
guys.
tuned. You guys will want to see that.